The Emperor and the Endless Palace is one of the best books of 2024. This is a debut novel of the author Justinian Huang, and although it's presumptuous to say, he has become one of my favorite authors. The Emperor and the Endless Palace is a fantastical romance set in 3 time periods, where 2 men fall in love and lose each other. The Emperor and the Endless Palace hit a lot of sweet spots for me. It gave me everything I needed, from straightforward and vivid prose that was beautifully written, almost poetic, intriguing characters, engaging storytelling, drama, sex, action, and romance. The Emperor and the Endless Palace felt like it was written for me, although it was not written for me. Although it was predominantly Asian characters, if not all Asian characters, how the story was told, the drama, the action, the sex, it was all to my liking, it was all to my taste level, it was everything that I love. It was written for me. I don't remember how this book got recommended to me. I might have been scrolling through Twitter and I saw it. Or it might have been while I was looking for new books to buy. And I saw this beautiful cover, and then I read the synopsis and I was like, okay, I need to read this book. And it came just in time for Asian American and Pacific Islanders Heritage Month to participate in Asian Readathon, hosted by the channel With Cindy. The 2024 Asian Readathon theme was the Oscar-nominated Korean film Past Lives, which this book lined up so well with. They're both romantic and happen across a long period of time. From the first chapter, I was hooked just off of the writing. Justinian Huang was able to balance being clear and vivid and straightforward with the prose while also making it sound beautiful and poetic at the same time. That was just, it was perfect for me. What hooked me even more about the first chapter is in the 18th century, a teenage boy goes into the woods or in the forest searching for a nine-tailed fox and has a gay awakening. In the next chapter, in the Emperor's Palace, a young man is plotting to move up political ranks in an effort to impress his father. In the chapter after that, a guy at an all-Asian circuit party meets a stranger that takes care of him after he loses his friend. It was fun going through the story, trying to figure out how each of those timelines connected to each other. One of the things I loved was the subtle connection of the ending of the 18th century timeline to the present day timeline, where one of the characters was withering away at the end of the 18th century timeline and came back like stronger and healthier in the present day timeline. A standout for me were the sex scenes. They were so vividly and beautifully written and with passion in a raunchy and visceral way that I enjoy. And as problematic as Commander Jujin was, he was also a standout for me because I enjoyed reading his character at times because he made the story very interesting. He was like one of those stoic productivity millionaire billionaire types, you know, kind of like an Andrew Huberman, Alex Hormozy type. He was kind of toxic and intense, but it was sexy. I will say some of the dialogue in the past timelines, they felt more modern and kind of out of place at times. Like, not too outrageously out of place, but it still felt a little like, would they actually say that in that timeline? Justinian being of and in proximity to the cultures that he's writing about would know better than I would about how accurate the dialogue and the phrases are that he's using for those timelines. He would know better than I would. That's his cultural references. I was loving the book so much, and I loved the name Justinian so much that I had to Google Justinian Huang to know more about him, to get to know him. Like, see, who is this person? I found out he works for or used to work for Sony Animation Studios, and he's also a screenwriter, which explains why the writing produced such a cinematic experience. With his Hollywood connection and him being a screenwriter, I can see The Emperor and the Endless Palace getting a film adaptation. And hopefully a big one, because how this story is written, it has just such an epicness to it. Like, just a grandness to it. Like, while I was reading it, it reminded me so much of Everything Everywhere All at Once. Partly because of this cover, because the cover of this also kind of reminded me of one of the posters. I feel like it needs to get that Everything Everywhere All at Once treatment with like that big budget, grand visuals, and that Oscar nomination, because I'm sorry, this story it deserves a film adaptation and an Oscar nomination and an Oscar win, like an Oscar sweep, dare I say. I would love to see the razor blade fellatio scene come to life on film. Also, this scene on top of the Emperor's desk, the scene with the nine-tailed fox with in the tree and by the river, that was a like an epic cinematic visual as I read it in my head. I was seeing the atmosphere, the tone, like the sun, the moonlight glittering off the river kind of thing, the moonlight through the trees. Like I just saw the visual so very cinematically. Plus the scene where the emperor's bodyguard chokes up one of the political officials and tells him, I want to fuck you until you're screaming. While Googling Justinian Huang, I came across an interview where he mentioned some of his casting suggestions or like who he would see in some of the roles. And for the two lead characters, he suggested Justin Min of the Umbrella Academy and Justin Chien of The Brother Sun, both shows from Netflix, which has me thinking that if he was to get this adapted, Netflix would be a really good place, because Netflix like to keep a lot of their people in-house, within the community, within the family, within the Netflix umbrella. So it would make sense that this movie would be a Netflix film, and Netflix also has the budget to bring this to life. So Netflix, make it happen. I don't think he gave a suggestion for Commander Jujin, but for me, who I was seeing for Commander Jujin as I read was Hiroki Sanada. He was on Westworld. He was the man in black in the Samurai World version of Westworld. And he was also in Shogun, or he is also in Shogun. If not Hiroki Sanada, I definitely hope it's somebody with that Hiroki Sanada kind of energy and kind of look to him. Although the ending was bittersweet, it was also very cinematic. Everything in all of the timelines basically came together at the end. And for the most part, I understood the journey from 4 BCE to the present day timeline, or the present day time period. I want to do a reread of An Emperor in the Endless Palace with the knowledge that I have of like how it ended and how the story was told, and kind of put those pieces together and get even deeper into the story. The Emperor in the Endless Palace was such a wonderfully, fantastically immersive story. I hope more people read it, and I definitely hope that it gets a film adaptation, because baby, it deserves it. And it needs to get a film adaptation that is equally as immersive, as fantastical, as glorious, as beautiful as the story is. Thank you for spending your time with me, and I'm out this bitch like Fleek. Shout out to Peaches. Thank you, girl.